Hello Sudoku friends and welcome to an evil level Sudoku. This time it's from websudoku.com, but I have copied the puzzle into this website at sudokuexchange.com because I prefer this interface over the very old and ancient websudoku.com interface. I hope that this is going to be interesting. I think there are a lot of givens, considering that it is an evil puzzle. But you never know with computer-generated puzzles. They can start out easy and then they become progressively more difficult. I also wanted to say thank you so much for the new subscriptions. Today I reached 100 subscribers. Some of you may laugh at that because there are so many channels on YouTube who have hundreds, thousands, and millions. But I'm humble and I'm really grateful and happy that so many of you have been subscribing these past couple of weeks. I also hasten to add that if you see any ads at all while watching my videos, please be aware that I'm not monetizing, nor will I ever monetize my channel. That's not what I'm about. I solve Sudokus because it's fun, and I think a lot of people enjoy Sudokus because they can solve them in their own good time, but many people also lack a little bit of instruction as to how to go about solving a Sudoku. As you will be well aware by now, I rarely use pencil marks for my puzzles. Of course, there are puzzles that will need pencil marks. That's just inevitable. But the puzzles that I present to you will nearly always be solvable without using pencil marks, just by using brain power alone. And that is my entire aim. Onto the puzzle now. There's a very obvious 6-8 pair here and here, and they put a 6 and an 8 in these two cells, don't they? Once you get used to solving Sudokus, these kind of patterns will just jump right out at you and you will know immediately what to do with them. It also appears to me so obvious that when I see the 3 here and I see the 3 here and I see the 3 here, I simply know without thinking that a 3 must go in this cell. And now there is this visual pattern of a 1 and a 3 in one row and a 1 and a 3 in this row. So we'll need a 1 and a 3 for this row as well. And since they can't go here, and we already have a 3 in this row in this cell, one of these will have to be a 1. It's not something that I really think about. It's just something that I know by instinct, and I will not revisit that logic at all. And I'm also drawn to all of the threes that are already available in the grid. You see, these 2 threes here, they limit the threes in this box and therefore in this column to these 2 cells. We've got a 3 here and a 3 here, and they limit the threes for this box and this column also to the same 2 rows, namely row 8 and row 9. So we have to find threes in 2 of these cells, this cell or this cell, and this cell. And that leaves us with a question where to place a 3 in these 3 cells, because clearly a 3 will have to go there. And the answer is not obvious, but what is obvious is that it can't go here because of the 3 here. And we also have a 3 here and a 3 here, and they leave these 2 cells only available for a 3. And now we have these 2 cells only available for a 3. So we see the beginnings of an X-wing, and it's just something that I don't normally think about when I solve a Sudoku. I spent some time today explaining to you the thought processes that I use when I solve Sudokus, and this is just one such example. I'm also vaguely aware that a 9 will have to go in one of these 2 cells because of the 9 here and the 9 here, and they block these 3 cells. And immediately when I think about that, I start thinking about now, if a 9 can't go here, where can it go in this row? It can't go here because of the 9 here, and it cannot go here because of the 9 here. So I know at some point in time, I will have to find a 9 for this cell or for this cell or for this cell. Another thing that happens, at least in my mind, when I see that these two cells have to be a 6 and an 8, I immediately start thinking about what will go into the other available cells. We know that these are fixed, 6 and 8. This one, for example, blocks these three cells. So we know now that a 1 will have to go in one of these two cells, won't it? Because these two are 6 and 8. And see, it can't go in this cell at all because there's a 1 up here. So this one is a given. And that immediately leads me to the next one. For example, the one here and the one here block all of these four cells, and this one blocks these two cells, leaving only this cell for a 1. And now we have a pair, don't we? We have this one and we have this one, and that puts a 1 in one of these two cells. And we have the 3 here and here, and that gives me a 3 for one of these two cells as well. And now I need to think about a 2, 4, and an 8 for this cell and this cell and this cell. Of course, an 8 now needs to go in one of these two cells because this cell is barred because of the 8 down here, right? I'm also making a mental note of a 6 that will go here or here because of this 6 that can see this cell and this 6 that blocks these two cells. So a 6 will have to go in this cell or in this cell. And given the 6 here and the 7 is already in this cell, one of these will have to be a 6. And I want to get back for a moment to the 1s and the 3s here. What's important about those is that a 1 and a 3, or rather a 1 and a 3, can't go here or here. Of course, the 3 here prohibits a 3 here anyway. But since one of these will have to be a 1, then neither this nor this cell can be a 1. And by the way, because of these two 1s, nor can these two cells, they cannot be a 1 either. So now these 4 cells cannot be a 1. Now look at these 3 cells. This one and this one force a 1 into this cell. So even though this column only had 2 givens, we easily found a 1 here because we isolated the 1 and the 3 for these two cells. And this is basically how I solve Sudokus. I don't do trial and error, but you could argue that I do trial and error, except I do them in my mind. So solving Sudokus, apart from spotting obvious patterns, that's a visual practice, it's just a matter of playing what if. And if you do that well enough, then you will solve the puzzle. And if the puzzle is more difficult than you can grasp, then you can add some pencil marks and they might help you complete the puzzle. But some puzzles, I have to warn you, they will be even more difficult and they will require you to know specific strategies like swordfishes and all kinds of weird names to get to the goal. And that's not what my channel is about, because I think there are way more solvers out there who are beginners and intermediates, and they probably are not ready yet to solve the most difficult puzzles. So I think there will be a lot of people who enjoy Sudokus and will just want to watch how to solve evil, expert, and hard puzzles without using pencil marks. Anyone who prefers to challenge themselves are welcome to try the almost impossible Sudokus and also the other variants, frankly. I don't do other variants because I have limited time. I have so many other things that I need to do. I'm learning Spanish by myself, and since I'm relatively fluent, I will start on Italian after New Year's. And in 2024, it will be either Portuguese or Korean. And languages occupy about 3 hours of my day. So that's why I limit myself to classical Sudokus. Anyway, let's continue with the puzzle. Let's get back to these 6 and 8s for a moment, shall we? The 9 here now puts a 9 in one of these two cells because all of these are occupied by either a 9 or by the 6 and an 8. So a 9 will go here or here. And that means that a 9 can't go here or here. And because of this 9 and this 9, a 9 can't go here either. So a 9 must go here. And we've got a 9 and a 9 here, and they block these cells from being a 9, and the 9 here blocks these cells. So we already have a 9 for column 1, and it goes here. And because we have a ghost 9 here, and we have this 9 here now, and these two 9s block these cells from being a 9, we have found a 9 for the third column. And now I think we can do something about the 1s and the 3s. And I will start at this corner because we got a 3 here, and they blocked all of these cells from being a 3, right? So one of these two cells will have to be a 3 eventually. And that means that this cell cannot be a 3. And the 3 here blocks this cell from being a 3. And we have a 3 here in the first column that blocks this cell. Ergo, a 3 must go here. And remember the 1 3s we had here? This is now a 1 and this is a 3. And I think we can find the last one here as well, because now we have this 1 and this 1, and these two, they force a 1 into this cell. And now I think we are making a little progress. And yes, in fact, the 7 here puts a 7 in one of these two cells. And we have a 7 here already for this column 3. And see here, the 7 blocks a 7 from this cell. So a ghost 7 here, and the 7 here blocks these cells from being 7s, and the 7 here blocks this cell. So a 7 will have to go here. And look, we know that a 3 will have to go in this cell. I don't know why I didn't spot it just a short while ago. But see, we got the 3 here, and we got the 3 here, leaving a 3 for one of these cells. But I think we haven't forgotten yet that this has to be a 6 or an 8, just as this one has. So it cannot be a 3, and therefore the 3 must go here. And now this is a 3. And we've got all the 3s now, and we've got all the 1s. And since we took away this cell possibility for a 9 candidate, and we have a 9 here, and this is still a 6 or an 8, it cannot be a 9, then obviously this cell must be a 9. And we have the 9 up here, and they block all of these 4 cells. Now we have this 9 and this 9, and they block all of these 4 cells. So the 9 for row 3 and for column 9 must go here. And now we've solved the 1s and the 3s and the 9s for this puzzle. And as we've been filling out the stuff here, I notice that this cell now is limited and it can only be a 4 because of the 4 here that blocks these cells and the 4 here that blocks these cells. So this must be a 4. And now one of these will have to be a 4. And because we have the 6 and an 8 here, these two now will have to be a 5 and a 7. And I can see that the 8 here bars an 8 from going into this cell, therefore it must go into this cell since there are only 2 empty cells in this row number 5. And that would put a 2 in this cell, wouldn't it? And because of the 2 here now that blocks this cell and the 2 here that blocks this cell, this must be a 2. The 2 here and the 2 here leaves this cell for a 2. Now we need to find a 4 and a 5 for these 2 cells. We can find hidden single, as it's called, I believe, 4 here, because The 4 here puts a 4 in one of these two cells, right? And we have a 4 already in this column. So this cell must be a 4. And now remember how a 6 had to go in one of these two cells? Now we know that the other digit will have to be a 4. So we have a 4-6 pair. And that leaves only one cell to be filled. And the last digit, of course, now has to be a 5. And the 5 here gives me a ghost 5 here and here. And therefore, this cell must be a 5. And I think now we are cooking because remember how these two cells had to be a 5 and a 7? Now, because of the 5 here, the 7 must go here and the 5 here. And the 7 here and here puts a 7 in this cell quite easily. And this 4 now forces a 4 into this cell. Now, these have to be a 2 and a 5, of course. Let's see if that helps us. No, it doesn't. Well, we can input something here, can't we? What's missing? A 4 is missing from here. Now, the 4 here and the 4 here gives me a 4 for this cell. These two cells now have to be a 6 and a 2. 2, 5, 6, and 7 still missing from column 8. There's a 5 here, so the 5 will have to go here or here. However, it can't go here, can it? Because of the 5 here. So it's not really difficult once you begin thinking about it. And the 3 other digits were a 2, 6, and a 7. The 7 here blocks this from being a 7, and the 7 here blocks this from being a 7. So the 7 must go here. Now we just need to find homes for a 2 and a 6 for these two. And since we have a 2 here, that must now be the 6, and this must be the 2, and this must be the 6. And the other digit that we were missing up here, remember, that was a 2. Now, this was a 6 or an 8, this was a 6 or an 8, and this therefore also must be a 6 or an 8, except it cannot be a 6 because of the 6 here. So the 8 goes here, and the 6 goes here, and now we just need to find a 7 for these two cells, and there's a 7 in the top row already. So the 7 must go here, and this is going to be a 4 now. And that takes care of the 4 and the 6 we had going on up here for the longest time. And the 6 here and here, and the 6 here puts a 6 firmly in this cell, doesn't it? What else can we do? Well, we can find the last digit here, which of course is a 2. Since this 2 now blocks this cell and this 2 blocks these two cells, this must be a 2, and that takes care of the 2 and the 5 we had here, right? So this is now a 2, and this is a 5. And since this obviously now cannot be a 5 because of this 5, a 5 will have to go here, and this must be an 8. We already have an 8 in this row, and we have an 8 in this column, so an 8 will have to go here to complete column 4. Now up here, we need to find a 5 and an 8, and the 8 down here puts a 5 in this cell and an 8 in this. Now we just need these two cells, and what can they be? One of them will have to be a 6, and that is a 1, and the other one will have to be a 5, and that is a 1. Oh, and we did it right. So with a little bit more small talk than usual, I hope that you still managed to enjoy the puzzle the way I did. This was not an easy puzzle. It was an evil puzzle from websudoku.com. And if you did solve it, more power to you. And if you didn't, I hope that my instruction and my examples helped you along the way. Anyway, thank you for watching today, and see you again here back soon. Bye for now.